years ago, I recruited these two into a unit known as Shadow Force.
What's going on, ScreenRant? It's Liam Crowley, and I am here at the world premiere of Shadow Force in New York City, New York. We're talking with Kerry Washington, we're talking with Omar, we're talking with the entire cast and crew that helped bring this film to life from a script that existed way back in 2018. It's a 7-year journey. It all culminates tonight, and it starts right now. Kerry, I heard you personally got Omar involved in this film by sliding into the DMs.
I did. I had my husband's permission to slide into Omar's DMs. He loved the idea of Omar in this role, and I didn't want to go through the normal agent route. So I did that, and then I waited by my phone like a teenager, but finally he DM'd me back, and he said, I'll read it. Let me read it. And then I was so happy that—
Did you send the script over DM too?
I didn't. I was like, what's a good way to get a hold of you? And then we started emailing. Yes, yeah.
Well, I'm glad he responded, because I read that he also was like, is this the real Kerry Washington?
I'm so happy he said yes. I feel like him saying yes leveled up the whole film. It made it a global story about a Black family whose love really crosses boundaries and languages and culture to fight for each other. So I'm really excited he said yes.
I heard that you got involved in this film by Kerry Washington hitting you with a DM, and
Yes.
you were kind of back and forth. Is this the real Kerry Washington? Can you talk to me about that exchange and what your reaction was?
My reaction was like, is it really her first? You know, you have to like to make sure that it's not a prank, and then actually it was her. But I'm telling that it shows how special this movie is. You know, it's not the way stuff's going on, because the movie's so special that it couldn't be like a normal way to start, right? So, and after that, it's also helped us to have that connection that we have, having that relationship to speak like really frankly to each other, having that direct, connection and dialogue. So it was good.
Some of the action set pieces you take place in this movie, so much is going on around you and you're kind of reactionary to it. What was your headspace going into those big action moments?
I was just confused. In the movie, I didn't know what was happening. All I knew was that my mom and my dad were being targeted. And I had to make the most of the moments with them, because I don't know if they're gonna make it or not.
So the role of Auntie, I was reading, was basically written for you, and then after you said yes to it, you were like, I also want to do my own stunts.
Yeah.
Just talk to me about your insistence on doing the action.
Joe was cool with it. I mean, he was really adamant about he wanted to create something for me. I asked him what his thoughts were, and he was like, I wouldn't have it any other way. And so then as it went on, we really started to try to carve out something that felt real and authentic, and something that would resonate and, change things up again a bit from what we're used to seeing.
Let's talk a little bit about Shadow Force before we get out of here. Talk to me about your character and some of the crazy action set pieces you got to take place in.
My character is Mark Strong's right-hand man. He is the head of Shadow Force, and he's the one who is obsessed with catching Kerry Washington and Omar who have left because they've fallen in love and had a baby. And there was a lot of fun, like gunfights and stuff, but there was one scene in which my character had to go through a glass table, and they're like, Ed, can you do it? And I said, I'll do it once, because I'm just like, you're a big guy, you probably played sports, pretty beat up. I
used to wrestle.
You used to wrestle.
Like pro wrestling too, so like the whole, I would take the body slam on the mat. And
well, that's even, so yeah, and I was football.
It still hurts though.
Yeah, I was football and rugby, so I'm done. And so there's this glass table, and I was like, I'll do it once, guys, okay? And they're like, okay. And there's squibs, and the whole thing's gonna explode. And so I get hit, and I go through the table, and the squibs didn't go off. Oh, it hurt, and we needed to do it one more time. And I was like, okay. And I was padded up and stuff, but stunt guys are made of scrap metal, and I am not, so it hurt.
Tell me a little bit about your character and some of the crazy action set pieces you take part of in this movie.
Man, well, there's a lot of shooting guns, high caliber automatic weapons that I actually never handled before, and we do that a lot. There's also just explosion after explosion. There's some really, I won't give it away, but there's leading into the finale, there's this like incredible cinematic trick scene that happens that is just the coolest thing ever. Shout out to Joe Carnahan for making that happen, brother. Thank you. So yeah, it's dope.
I'm going back in my mind. I remember the boat scene is what I remember the most.
The boat scene was sick. The boat races, all of that. Yeah, the boat races on the water, and all of that stuff was like really live. There's no CGI in this film, man. It's on location. Every stunt was done and was just executed to the fullest in real time, real speed. A lot of unpredictability, a lot of explosions that had to happen a few times. Yeah, it's incredible, man.
It's cool to see you in the flesh because my audience, specifically ScreenRant, we love your work and Into the Spider-Verse. You voiced Tombstone back in the day.
Yeah, man.
Is that something you'd ever want to pursue in live action as well?
Yeah, I would. I mean, you know, there's been some talks. I can't give away anything, but yeah, I would.
Live action talks.
Live action talks, yeah.
Ooh, like opposite Tom Holland?
No, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But there's been some things, you know that world over there, brother. You don't know and you can't say nothing until you can. So it's something I would love to do. Marvel is a place that I've been blessed to work in both DC and Marvel universes, and Marvel just been great to me. So anything they want me to do, I'll do.
Talk to me a little bit about Anino and her role within the Grand Shadow Force world.
Oh, I'm one of the shadows after Kerry and Omar. We're trying to get them. We're trying our best. But, they're pretty strong. They're a pretty strong duo. So.
Something that's really cool about this movie is the practical effects. And you guys are shooting in Colombia as well. Did you have those days on sets where you're looking around and you're like, how is this happening before my eyes?
1000%. It was amazing. We had to go to set and from set in a boat every day. We were all in the elements, and it was amazing. Cartagena and Bogota. Loved being in Colombia. It's a beautiful country. And it was amazing, being on the small little islands filming or in the jungle or whatever it was. I jumped into the water in Bogota not knowing what was in there, so it was great. It's always refreshing to be able to be on location and feel the environment, so that it really brings you into your character.
I'm going to ask you a question and then a follow-up question based on that. Apologies if it's too personal. Are you a mother?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask. Okay. So in that case, you could kind of answer it in that sense. This film is coming out Mother's Day weekend, and it's a huge family story from the perspective of being someone's daughter. What does that mean to you?
My mother's the strongest woman I know, and she's always, instilled in me the power of a woman. So she raised me to be a strong Black female, and I never take that for granted. And to see that reflected in this movie means more than anybody can understand.
I know that this movie was filmed like all practical effects, like no CGI. Could you tell me about some of the craziest days on set, some of the stuff that you were seeing with your own eyes, and you're like, how is this getting brought together?
I mean, it was shot in Colombia. I'm from Colombia. It was just amazing. We were shooting on a tiny island around Cartagena, like in the Caribbean, and we were doing all this, explosions and just like car chases, boats, helicopters. It was insane. And like locals and people, they were just like coming in little boats trying to understand what was going on in that tiny island. And it was just like, real Colombia, no green screens, no CGI, it was all real, and just like tons and tons of work and training and rehearsals. So it's just, it's a movie. Joe Carnahan is an expert of doing action, and he knows where to put the camera, when to cut. He's so good, and you're gonna enjoy this movie.
This film has been in the works for quite some time. Yes. 7-year process. I remember it starting as a spec script. Talk to me about where you came in the journey and what your reaction was when you first heard the story.
Well, I think Leon Chills wrote a phenomenal script, and I think when I got my hands on it, he's a younger guy, I'm an older guy, and I had 4 kids, and I understood what he was trying to do, which is this idea of the insinuation of a family into this kind of spy genre, and getting an audience to really care about this kind of a strange family and the decisions that these parents had made to protect their child. I think once I kind of locked in on that, it became very easy. I think it was just something I wanted to engage and get into.
Absolutely. And you talk about the emotional beats there at the core of this movie. A lot of audiences are going to walk away raving about the action. I want to talk about the boat scene. How the heck did you pull that off?
Oh man, that was a lot of planning and a lot of Kerry and Mark Strong being willing to kind of, drive their own speedboats, and Omar being willing to kind of be on board and fire.
Off board too.
Yeah, off board too. Listen, it's like when you have actors and you have someone like Kerry who's a producer, and the buy-in becomes something where once they go, everybody goes, right? So if the top of the call sheet is game and engaged, everybody else falls in line. So it was as easy as that. Once we decided this is what we're going to do, everybody just kind of got in line. It was great.
Yeah, there's no appropriate segue to this because it's a tragic story, but sticking with boats, you have a movie coming out called Not Without Hope.
Yeah.
I know it's a true story about, it was a 2009 accident
Yes.
that claimed the lives of some NFL players.
Yes.
Could you talk to me a little bit about that story and what fans can expect when it hits the big screen?
Well, listen, let's hope it hits the big screen. I think it's an extraordinary film, and it came out really wonderful. And because it got mired in a lot of nonsense, a lot of indie films get bogged down in this kind of thing, whether it be, bad financing or so on and so forth. There's a lot of, smoke and mirrors in that world that sometimes claim the lives of really great films. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Not Without Hope. It's fantastic. Zach Levi's great in it. Marshall Cook, who's in Shadow Force, Quentin Blair, Terrence Terrell, Joe Beth Williams, Josh Duhamel. It's a really, really fantastic film. And it's a very intimate kind of survivor, not unlike The Grey. And I think I would put it absolutely on par with The Grey. I think it's as good or better a film than The Grey. So let's hope that audiences get to see it.
All right, first off, Leon, congrats on bringing this film to the big screen. I know it's a long time coming for you. 2018 is when the script was first written?
Yes, the very first draft was 2018. It sold in 2019. And overall, it was my 7th script, 7 years after I started writing. So all of it, yes, it was a long time coming.
Is this like an emotional night for you?
Yeah, for sure. On top of all of that, I used to work at JP Morgan on Wall Street here, and I quit there to go chase this exact dream. So for the premiere to be here, it's like full circle.
How close are we to Wall Street right now?
Not close right here, but it's just, it's actually probably not that bad in a car, but on the train, yeah.
The point is the fact that it's full circle, same, we're in Manhattan where it's all happening, must feel pretty special. 7 years down the line, scripts are great on paper, but they don't work unless you get that killer cast. Talk to me about getting Kerry and Omar and Jahleel involved, because a lot of this film rests on that kid's shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. I think when it came to Kerry and Omar, we were interested in actors who, when you saw the trailer, it would be interesting because you don't get to see them do this kind of action all the time, especially with Kerry. And so they're both actors who can do the dramatic stuff in their sleep. So when it came to doing those scenes, it was really easy for them. And then they have the opportunity to learn the action and to do those scenes on top. So I think if we had got actors who are used to doing action but had never done the dramatic stuff, then those scenes wouldn't resonate as much as they do. People say they tear up and cry during certain parts, especially one between Jahleel and Kerry. So I think that we got the perfect actors for the job.
There's some action in this movie that I don't know if you were able to picture in your head when you wrote it. Yeah. The boat scene. I know that there was one scene where it wasn't fog on screen. We were filming in the clouds.
The boat scene gave super face-off vibes, right?
Yeah, and he was hanging off the side of the boat too. I was losing my mind. When you're writing those on the paper, are you imagining that they are going to play out as we see, or is it better than you could have imagined?
I mean, when I first started writing, that's how I did it. I wrote it exactly as I imagined it would be. But then, ultimately, action choreographers come in and, the director, and so they'll change it to how they see it. But most important for me is to make the action scenes character-driven so that when an action scene pops up, you actually care about what's happening to the characters in the moment.
Ed, the premise of this movie revolves around two spies kind of going rogue, falling in love, and that's why they have to abandon Shadow Force. Yeah. If you're allowed to share, you can keep it PG. Has there ever been a rule you've broken at work that was that big deal?
Yes, and have you ever heard of HR, Liam? We can't talk about this right now.
Maybe not. Maybe not Hollywood.
What's statute of limitations?
What about a job you had as a teenager?
Here's one that I broke, and it wasn't my fault. You should never drink on set. You hear this, kids? Never drink when you're working. Never drink while you're acting. I am on my first job, which is Young Americans, and I am not working, and I'm with the other director of the episodes, and we were shooting the series Young Americans in Baltimore, and we have the best seats, right on the first baseline, and it's the 7th inning, and I'm sitting there, I've been drinking beers with with the director and the other AD. AD all of a sudden gets a phone call, and he goes, "Ed, there's a van outside. They need you to come to set right now to shoot." And I'm like, and they're like, and so I literally, and I walked with the beer right up, and there was a van took me straight to set, and I had to shoot a whole scene. And so I showed up, from a baseball game, not my fault. I was not on the call sheet. But so that happened. I broke that rule.
Absolutely, I would absolutely do the same thing they did. Just falling in love, trying to connect with someone. I think it's just human. That's what they did. They wanted to have a family, and that's what the movie is about. We're all working. We all have to be professional, but suddenly, love happens.
Don't be mad. I was always a better shot.
No,
Yes.
never.
What?